A woman may like many men, but she only chases the ones she knows she cannot replace. Machiavelli taught that value comes from scarcity, not effort. When you live with purpose, when your time has standards, when your mindset is disciplined, she recognizes a difference instantly. You're no longer just another option. You're the man she measures all others against. And that's when the chase begins. In this video, I'll show you how to become the man a woman fears losing, respects instantly, and chases consistently. The psychology of scarcity. Most men completely misunderstand what makes a woman chase a man. They think it's about being funny, charming, or constantly giving attention. They believe if they just text enough, compliment enough, or do enough favors, a woman will stick around. But this is a huge mistake. Modern psychology and even centuries-old philosophy tell a very different story. Women, like all humans, are naturally drawn to scarcity, mystery, and perceived value. Think about it like this. Whenever something is too easy to get, it loses its appeal. If you are always available, always eager, always trying too hard, your attention becomes ordinary. She doesn't feel that pull, that spark. Her mind doesn't notice you as someone special, someone different, someone she wants to pursue. That's the truth most men fail to see. Research in social psychology proves this. Studies show that humans desire what they cannot fully have. It's called the principle of scarcity. When people feel something is limited, rare, or difficult to obtain, their brain naturally assigns it higher value. That's why we desire things that are not easy to get. And when you apply this to attraction, it's simple. Women chase men whose time, energy, and attention are not unlimited. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He wrote, "Men judge more from appearances than from reality. All men have eyes, but few have the gift of penetration." What he meant was that people are constantly evaluating signals, sometimes consciously, often unconsciously. Women sense the energy you radiate, the way you value yourself, and how much you allow yourself to be available. They don't need you to say anything, they feel it, and it triggers desire. This is why being abundant, predictable, and always available destroys attraction. If she knows she can get your attention anytime she wants, your value drops instantly. She stops chasing, the spark fades. Instead, what creates fascination is deliberate scarcity. When you manage your time, control your energy, and choose carefully where your attention goes, you send a subtle but powerful signal. I am valuable. I am not easy to have. I am worth pursuing. Scarcity doesn't mean being cruel or manipulative. It doesn't mean ignoring her completely or playing silly games. It simply means setting standards, respecting your own value, and showing that your presence is rare and meaningful. When a woman senses this, she can't help but notice. She starts paying attention to you in ways she doesn't even realize. She observes your habits, your calmness, your confidence, your silence. Her brain starts associating you with something rare, something that cannot be replaced easily. Think about it in real life. Imagine a room full of men trying to impress women with jokes, flashy clothes, or constant attention. And then there's one man who doesn't try at all. He sits calm, focused, doing his own thing, interacting only when necessary. Slowly, women begin glancing at him. They whisper to each other. They wonder why he seems so different. That is scarcity in action. You don't need to try, you just need to exist in a way that feels rare, intentional, and valuable. This principle works because it taps into deep, subconscious human behavior. Women instinctively compare options. When they feel that a man's time and attention are limited, their interest intensifies. Scarcity creates curiosity, intrigue, and ultimately, desire. And when desire is combined with the perception of high value, she starts chasing. Not because you begged for attention, not because you tried hard, but because she senses something she cannot fully have or control. So remember this, attraction is not about how much you give. It's about how much you allow yourself to be desired. The man who is always available loses. The man who is deliberate, disciplined, and scarce wins. Scarcity is subtle, powerful, and unstoppable when done correctly. It's the first step in becoming a man a woman fears losing, respects instantly, and instinctively chases. Presence over words. Most men believe they attract women with what they say. They think clever lines, compliments, or jokes are the key. But the truth is far deeper and far more powerful. Women are drawn to how you carry yourself, not what you say. The energy you project, the way you move, the calm in your demeanor, these speak louder than any words ever could. Stoic philosophy teaches this clearly. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." In other words, stop trying to explain yourself. Stop trying to impress through words or actions that feel desperate. Be the man who embodies confidence, calmness, and purpose. When you act with grounded self-assurance, women notice instinctively. They feel it in their gut before they even process it consciously. Machiavelli also understood the power of presence over words. He said, "It is not by force, but by artful guidance that men hold power over others." This is a timeless principle of influence, and it applies perfectly to attraction. Seduction is not about trying too hard or pushing for attention. It is about holding yourself in a way that naturally draws people in. When your presence is steady, deliberate, and intentional, you communicate power, stability, and authority without saying a single word. Think about it. How many times have you seen a man sit calmly in a room full of people, saying little, and yet everyone notices him? Women glance at him repeatedly. Men respect him. Something about his presence signals confidence, control, and value. That is not luck. That is the subtle art of presence. Words can be forgotten, jokes fade, and flattery is ignored. But the energy you project, the way you move, the way you occupy space, leaves a permanent impression. Presence is also about emotional control. A man who reacts to every little thing, who worries about every interaction, who tries to impress constantly, loses this power. Women feel insecurity and neediness unconsciously. But a man who remains calm, composed, and deliberate, who measures his responses, pauses before speaking, and chooses when to act, radiates authority. That authority is magnetic. It signals that he is in command of himself and his life. Machiavelli's ideas on guidance are subtle but precise. He advised that real power is often invisible. Influence is felt, not forced. The same applies to women. If a woman feels you are grounded, steady, and deliberate, she will start to notice patterns in your behavior. She will sense that you are different from the other men who are loud, reactive, or desperate for attention. She may not be able to explain why she is drawn to you, but her subconscious will recognize the difference immediately. This presence is enhanced by body language, posture, and energy. Stand tall, move deliberately, make eye contact without staring, and speak only when necessary. Silence can be more persuasive than words. A calm man commands attention not because he speaks more, but because he speaks less and means more. Words are temporary. Presence is lasting. Presence over words also means living intentionally. A man who has direction, discipline, and a mission communicates value naturally. Even small gestures, showing patience, listening carefully, acting with integrity, signal that he is rare and deliberate. Women are drawn to this because deep down, they sense that he is someone who cannot be easily replaced or predicted. In short, words may catch attention for a moment, but presence creates fascination that lasts. It is the silent signal that makes women curious, intrigued, and attracted. Your calm energy, self-command, and deliberate actions speak louder than any pickup line ever could. If you combine scarcity with presence, you begin to create a powerful effect. She notices you more than anyone else, she feels drawn to you instinctively, and she starts to chase without realizing why. Presence over words is not just a tactic, it is a way of being, a lifestyle of control, power, and magnetism that women sense instinctively and cannot resist. Standards and boundaries. A woman respects a man who respects himself first. This is one of the most powerful principles of attraction that most men completely ignore. Psychology shows that people are naturally drawn to those who hold boundaries, value themselves, and refuse to tolerate disrespect. When you constantly give without consideration, chase attention, or compromise your standards, just to please someone, you are signaling low value, even if you think you are being kind or charming. Boundaries are not about being harsh or selfish. They are about clarity, self-respect, and control. When you set clear limits on your time, energy, and attention, you demonstrate that you are not available to anyone who does not deserve it. This automatically increases your perceived value. Women instinctively sense it. They notice a man who is calm, deliberate, and selective. That subtle difference makes you stand out immediately. Machiavelli captured this principle centuries ago when he said, "Make them value your presence by showing you can disappear." Absence is a tool of power. When you do not constantly seek attention or approval, your presence becomes rare and meaningful. Women begin to recognize that you are someone who cannot be taken for granted. Your scarcity creates curiosity, desire, and fascination. Boundaries also create a natural comparison effect. When a woman realizes that your time and attention are limited, she starts to measure your value against other men. Men who are too available, too eager, or too accommodating are quickly dismissed. But a man who has rules for his life, protects his time, and refuses to tolerate disrespect becomes irreplaceable in her mind. She begins to chase, not because you begged for attention, but because she subconsciously recognizes your self-respect, control, and authority. This is why boundaries are one of the most overlooked but effective tools of attraction. They communicate strength, independence, and confidence without saying a word. A woman senses that you are someone who holds standards, someone who is not desperate for approval, and someone she cannot manipulate easily. That sense of challenge and respect triggers her natural desire to pursue you. Standards and boundaries also protect your energy and help you focus on your purpose. When you enforce limits, you avoid wasting time on people who do not recognize your value. You maintain control over your life and interactions. Women notice this and are instinctively drawn to it because it signals that you are a man of substance, discipline, and power. In short, a man who has clear boundaries and high standards is magnetic. Scarcity plus presence is powerful, but boundaries turn that power into respect and attraction. When women sense that your attention is a privilege, not a given, they cannot help but be drawn to you. They chase, they respect, and they begin to see you as someone they cannot replace. Purpose and direction. A man who has a clear purpose is naturally magnetic. It is not his clothes, his jokes, or even his looks that make him attractive. It is the way he moves through life with direction and intention. Behavioral psychology shows that humans are drawn to competence, vision, and clarity. Women, in particular, are instinctively attracted to men who are building something meaningful, who have clear goals, and who act deliberately toward achieving them. This is not about showing off. It is about living a life that has weight, structure, and purpose. Nietzsche said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." When a man has a strong reason for living, whether it's building a career, mastering a skill, or pursuing a mission, he develops an inner confidence that is impossible to fake. This confidence radiates outward, often before he even speaks a word. Women sense it intuitively. They notice a man who is fully invested in his life because his energy communicates something rare. He is independent, focused, and unstoppable. Purpose also creates a form of unpredictability that is deeply attractive. Most men are reactive. They respond to circumstances, to attention, to approval. A man with purpose is proactive. He decides his path, sets his pace, and does not bend to others' expectations. Women sense this, even subconsciously. They notice that he cannot be dominated, predicted, or fully understood. That mystery, combined with competence, triggers curiosity and fascination. She starts to want to follow his lead, to be drawn into his world, not because he asked her to, but because she feels a natural pull toward his vision and energy. Purpose is not about busyness or pretending to be productive. It is about living intentionally, choosing where to invest your time, energy, and attention. When a man structures his life around meaningful goals, he naturally projects authority. Women notice the calm decisiveness in his movements, the focus in his eyes, and the clarity in his actions. These are subtle signals, but they are far more persuasive than any words or charm. Machiavelli understood this principle long ago. A man who masters his own life, who creates and controls his destiny, becomes magnetic and respected. Influence comes naturally when a man has a clear purpose. Women are drawn to men who are building, creating, and moving forward with intent because they sense stability, strength, and vision. Living with purpose also protects your value. When your life has direction, you do not waste time on trivial pursuits or people who do not match your energy. This scarcity of attention, combined with your visible competence and focus, makes your presence rare and desirable. A woman senses that your life cannot be easily disrupted. She sees that you are a man who cannot be replaced, a man who commands respect and naturally draws pursuit. In short, purpose transforms a man's energy. It creates inner confidence, radiates outward, triggers fascination, and inspires pursuit. Women are not drawn to aimless men, to men who are reactive or desperate. They are drawn to the man who moves through life with direction, vision, and deliberate action. Purpose makes you magnetic. Purpose makes you uncatchable. And purpose makes her chase you naturally because she senses a life she cannot predict, a presence she cannot control, and a man she cannot replace. The subtle pull. Attraction is rarely loud. It is not about showing off, trying too hard, or forcing attention. True attraction is a dance of subtle influence. It is quiet, deliberate, and invisible, yet incredibly powerful. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago when he wrote about power. Often, the strongest influence is unseen. The same principle applies to seduction. You do not push, beg, or manipulate a woman into chasing you. Instead, you allow her to move toward you naturally, guided by your energy, self-discipline, and calm authority. Every small gesture, every deliberate pause, every carefully measured word has a magnetic effect. It is in the way you hold your gaze for just the right moment, the way you pause before responding, the way you interact without over-explaining or over-committing. These subtle signals communicate confidence, independence, and control, qualities women sense instinctively and cannot resist. Psychology explains why this works. There is something called the Zeigarnik effect, the human tendency to remember incomplete patterns and feel a need to resolve them. When a woman cannot fully understand you, when your thoughts, intentions, and emotions remain partly hidden, her brain instinctively seeks closure. She becomes curious. She wants to decode you. This is why mystery is such a powerful tool in attraction. It triggers her mind to chase your energy even without words or direct effort on your part. Independence strengthens this pull. A man who does not bend to others' expectations, who does not constantly seek validation, who moves through life with self-discipline, creates fascination. She senses that you cannot be controlled or fully predicted, and that unpredictability triggers desire. Curiosity grows into admiration, admiration grows into attraction, and attraction grows into pursuit. Machiavelli emphasized subtle guidance over force. It is not by force, but by artful guidance that men hold power over others. In seduction, this means you guide interactions invisibly, creating a magnetic pull that feels natural to her. Every word you choose, every look you give, every silence you hold acts like a signal that you are not desperate, not available to anyone, and deeply confident in yourself. She feels it, even if she cannot explain why. The subtle pull is also about timing. Never overwhelm her with constant attention. Allow pauses and spaces between interactions. Your absence or measured engagement makes her mind fill in the gaps. She will wonder what you are thinking, what you are doing, and why you seem so calm and in control. Her curiosity is like a flame. You fan it without ever touching it directly. Energy matters more than words. Your calm, controlled energy communicates power. Your independence communicates value. Your small gestures communicate deliberate presence. Women are unconsciously drawn to these signals because they sense a life that cannot be predicted, controlled, or easily understood. That is the essence of the subtle pull. You do not chase her, yet she begins to chase you. You do not convince her, yet she becomes fascinated. In practice, this means mastering yourself first. Control your emotions. Stay grounded in social interactions. Speak deliberately, move with intention, and leave space for curiosity to grow. Every glance, every pause, every word becomes a tool in the invisible dance of attraction. In short, the subtle pull is about allowing desire to build naturally through mystery, independence, and deliberate energy. It is invisible, indirect, and devastatingly effective. A woman senses it, cannot resist it, and begins to chase. She is drawn not because you forced her, but because you became unpredictable, magnetic, and untouchable. The chase becomes natural. Attraction is not a result of charm, luck, or even physical appearance. The real reason a woman chases a man is far deeper. It is because he has become irreplaceable. Once you combine scarcity, presence, purpose, and subtle influence, the dynamics change. She no longer needs to be convinced, persuaded, or manipulated. Her desire begins to emerge naturally. She senses a man whose time, energy, and attention are deliberate, rare, and valuable. She feels a pull she cannot resist, a curiosity she cannot explain, and an attraction she cannot control. Scarcity sets the foundation. By holding your attention and energy selectively, you signal that you are not just another man. You are someone she must earn. Presence adds power. Your calm, grounded, deliberate energy radiates confidence that she notices instinctively. Purpose contributes depth. A man with direction, goals, and vision creates a life she cannot dominate or predict. The subtle pull ties it all together. Your mystery, independence, and measured interactions create an invisible magnet she feels but cannot name. Philosopher Schopenhauer observed, "A woman will love a man who excites in her a secret desire she cannot understand." This perfectly aligns with Machiavellian principles of attraction. True seduction does not rely on forcing emotion or using tricks. Instead, it relies on becoming a man whose energy, behavior, and presence naturally stimulate fascination. She feels drawn, intrigued, and compelled to follow, simply because she senses your value, control, and uniqueness. The chase becomes organic, not artificial. She begins to notice patterns, how you move, how you react, how your attention is measured. She realizes, often subconsciously, that your time is limited, your focus is disciplined, and your life is structured with intention. She begins to seek you not because of superficial attraction, but because your combination of scarcity, presence, purpose, and subtle influence makes you irreplaceable in her eyes. Machiavelli's timeless advice applies perfectly here. Influence works best when invisible. You do not need to chase her, manipulate her, or prove yourself constantly. The magnetism emerges naturally when you embody these principles. She begins to mirror your rhythm, notice your energy, and unconsciously align with your tempo. What feels like her choice to pursue is actually the result of your discipline, emotional control, and strategic presence. At this stage, attraction transforms into fascination. She is not just interested, she is drawn to you consistently, compelled by your aura, and intrigued by the life you lead. Your standards and boundaries protect your value, while your purpose and energy amplify your magnetism. The chase is no longer about her testing you, it becomes a natural response to the man you have become. Remember, this is not about manipulation or trickery, it is about mastery, mastery of yourself, your presence, and your life. Scarcity, presence, purpose, and subtle pull are tools to shape attraction without effort or coercion. A woman chases not because you demand it, but because she recognizes something rare, powerful, and magnetic in you. In short, when you embody these principles, the chase becomes natural. She is drawn to you, curious about you, and fascinated by you, all without a single word of persuasion. You become a man who cannot be replaced, cannot be controlled, and cannot be ignored. The attraction is no longer forced. It flows naturally, effortlessly, and irresistibly. Machiavelli didn't teach manipulation. He taught strategy, self-discipline, and mastery over yourself. These are the qualities that make a man truly magnetic. When you live with purpose, protect your time, and hold your presence deliberately, women sense it immediately. They notice a man who is rare, confident, and unshakable. A man they cannot replace, cannot ignore, and instinctively want to be near. Value, presence, and purpose are not tricks. They are magnetic forces. Scarcity is not selfishness. It is a signal of authority. Boundaries are not rigidity, they are a demonstration of self-respect and power. When these principles combine, they create an invisible pull that draws women in naturally. She feels curious, fascinated, and compelled to chase without you saying a word. This isn't about games or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about becoming the man who truly earns respect and desire. Every choice you make, how you spend your time, how you carry yourself, how you pursue your goals, communicates value. Women feel it, even if they can't put it into words. Become that man. Be deliberate. Hold your standards. Live with purpose. Protect your energy. She will chase, she will respect. She will never see anyone else the same way again. The power isn't in words, it's in who you are and how you move through the world. If this video helped you, like to lock in the strategy, subscribe to learn more psychological secrets, and share it with someone who needs this truth. Comment below and share your story. Tell me if you've noticed women chasing men who hold their value. Your experiences matter, and the most insightful stories may inspire the next video.